I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing a story about how my wife, Emily, completely shredded the life we built together. We had the kind of relationship people envied, quiet, steady, full of the little things that made us feel secure. We met in college, got married 3 years ago, and I honestly thought she was the one. But all that trust started to crack the day I noticed her acting weird more than usual. She was more distant, always disappearing for hours, sometimes acting nervous when I brought up plans. I brushed it off at first. She's been stressed at work, I thought. But then the little things began piling up. She started hiding her phone more than ever, deleting texts, sneaking around. I'd catch her on her phone at odd hours, hurriedly closing apps or switching screens when I walked into the room. My gut told me something was off, but I didn't want to believe it. The signs were subtle but persistent. Her avoiding questions, her changing stories, her nervous glances. I even caught her in a lie about where she was one night. She said she was at her sister. But I found her car parked at a hotel downtown. That should have been the first sign, I guess, but I still convinced myself it was nothing, until I found the real proof. It happened by accident, really. I was cleaning out my drawer, just trying to find a pen, and I saw a small envelope tucked inside. It was a handwritten note from someone named Jake. My heart jumped. I didn't even recognize the handwriting. I opened it and read words that made my stomach turn. Plans to meet, secret meetings, a promise to see each other again. It was clear she'd been lying to me for months about where she was, who she was with. I sat there stunned, trying to process what I was reading. There was more, a picture of her, smiling with him, taken during what I now realize was during my grandmother's funeral. She was supposed to be there with her family, grieving, and instead she was with him. I remembered how she had been distant that day too, distracted, fidgety. I never imagined she'd cheat during such a heartbreaking moment for my family. That day, I felt like my whole world was shattering. I wanted to scream too, cry, but I just froze. The realization hit me hard. Emily was cheating on me with my childhood best friend, Jason. And the worst part, she was pregnant. I found out about that later after I confronted her. But the first shock of the affair, the betrayal of my wife and my best friend, that was enough to fracture everything I thought I knew about my life. I didn't even know how to start confronting her. I was furious, hurt, completely bewildered. I kept going over every little sign, every missed call, every odd look she gave me. I felt stupid for not realizing sooner, for not seeing how she was pulling away. Honestly, I'd put so much faith in her that I ignored all the warning signs. Now all I wanted was to get answers. The moment I held that letter in my hand, I knew this wasn't just a fling, it was a full-blown affair, and she'd been hiding it from me for months. I had to confront her. I had to know how deep this went. Getting her to admit anything was a nightmare. I brought her into the living room, trying to stay calm. But inside I was boiling. I threw the letter on the table and asked her directly, "Who is Jake? What's going on?" She looked at me with that bitchy smirk she always had when she was about to lie her ass off. "What are you talking about? That's just a stupid note from some guy I met at work. You're overreacting as usual." Yeah, right. I knew she was lying the second she opened her mouth. Her eyes darted, her voice was shaky, but she played it cool like she was the queen of deception. I pressed her harder. "Stop bullshitting me, Emily. I found this note. You're meeting some guy named Jake and you're pregnant with his kid, aren't you?" She scoffed, crossing her arms. "Oh please, you're just jealous because I was at the funeral and I needed someone to talk to. Jake's just a coworker, and the pregnancy, that's a lie you're making up in your head. I don't know what you're talking about." The way she said it, so bitchy, so dismissive, made my blood boil. I knew she was lying, but I wanted her to own up. I wanted her to confess. In that moment I felt like I was drowning. All the pain, all the betrayal hit me at once. I was furious, heartbroken, and already planning how I was going to get revenge. I told her I knew about the affair, about Jake, the pregnancy, everything. Her face twisted into this smirk and she said, "You're seriously crazy if you think I'd cheat on you. You're paranoid. Maybe I was talking to someone, but I'm not pregnant, and I don't even like Jake like that. You're just making shit up." I couldn't believe her. It was so obvious she was lying, but she kept spinning her stories, trying to gaslight me into doubting my own instincts. I felt like I was losing my mind. I kept asking for the truth, demanding she tell me what was really going on. She kept insisting she was innocent, that I was just overly jealous and insecure. But I had seen enough. That note, her nervousness, her secret meetings, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew she was lying, and I knew she was having an affair. The emotional punch was coming fast. I felt like my world was crumbling around me. I'd trusted her more than anyone, and now I was staring at her, realizing she'd been daggering me in the back for months. The pain was so raw I couldn't even breathe properly. I was angry, but I was also broken. I never thought she'd be capable of this kind of betrayal, especially during such a horrible time for my family. My grandmother's funeral. How could she be out there with him, lying to my face about it? That day, I saw her true colors, and it wasn't pretty. After I confronted her, Emily's reaction only fueled my anger. She rolled her eyes, scoffing like I was some crazy psycho. "You're being dramatic. I don't know what you want from me," she snapped, her tone dripping with contempt. "Yes, I met someone. Yes, I lied about it, but I'm not pregnant, and I sure as hell didn't cheat on you during the funeral. You're making this all up. You always do anyway." Her words hit me like a punch in the gut. I felt a mixture of rage and disbelief. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she pretend she was innocent when I had proof right there? I wanted to believe she was lying because it was easier than accepting the truth. But deep down, I knew she was a liar. Her entire demeanor, that bitchy smirk, her defensive posture, it all told me she was hiding something. I realized I needed to see more. I started digging through her stuff, her phone, her drawers, anything I could find. I didn't trust her word anymore. That's when I found the text messages between her and Jake. They were so blatant, so obvious. Flirty exchanges, plans to meet, even comments about how she was so close to telling me the truth. Reading those messages shattered any last hope I had that she was somehow innocent. She was pretty much bragging about their affair, about how she couldn't keep this secret much longer. I felt sick. My hands were trembling as I scrolled through them. I couldn't believe I'd been oblivious for so long. For months, she'd been sneaking around, lying to my face, and I just kept trusting her. I was ready to explode. I called her on her lies, told her I knew everything. She just shrugged and said, "Look, I didn't mean for it to happen. Like this, it's not what you think." That's when she dropped the bomb about the pregnancy. She told me she was pregnant with Jake's kid, said she never loved me anymore, that I was just a safe life she was going to leave behind. Her explanation was that she was bored, frustrated, and that Jake was the real thing she wanted. She said she was sorry, but she'd made her choice. I'd never felt so betrayed. The woman I loved, my wife, was carrying another man's child, and she'd been cheating on me during some of the worst moments of my life. I was numb, angry, and devastated all at once. I kept asking her why she did it, how she could betray me like that, especially during our wedding planning. Her bitchy attitude only made it worse. "You're so stupid, James. You never paid attention. You never satisfied me. I was bored, and Jake was there when I needed someone. I don't care about your feelings anymore." That's when I realized the depth of her hatred or indifference. She didn't care about me. She cared about herself, about her new life, and she was going to ruin everything I had built with her. The day I found out everything, I felt like I was walking dead. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. My mind kept replaying her words, her smug face, the texts, the damn pregnancy. I remember staring at her while she sat there, acting like she hadn't just shattered my world. The way she looked at me, like I was nothing, like I was just another inconvenience. I'd never felt so humiliated, so full of rage. At that moment, I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't just let her get away with this. I had to make her pay, but I also needed to plan carefully. I wasn't about to let her walk out the door and start her new life with Jake. No way. I needed leverage, something she couldn't lie her way out of. So I decided to lay everything bare. First, I recorded her admitting she was pregnant during our confrontation. I had my phone discreetly recording her bitchy little smirk as she told me she didn't care about my feelings anymore. Then, I gathered all her messages with Jake, the evidence of their affair, and the lies she told me about the funeral. Now I needed to figure out my next move. I knew she wanted to leave, to run off with Jake and her unborn kid. I couldn't let that happen. I'd invested so much in this marriage, in her. and I refused to be just another fool who got played. I decided I'd confront her parents next, tell them what their daughter had done. Not because I wanted revenge on her, but because I needed someone to understand what she was capable of. Emily was manipulative, bitchy, and refused to take responsibility. I wanted her to see the damage she'd caused, not just to me, but to her own family. In the meantime, I started planning how to keep her from leaving. I reached out to a lawyer, knowing that if she decided to gypsy off with Jake, I'd need legal protections. I also set up a security camera in our house, just in case she tried to sneak out in the middle of the night. I was determined to catch her if she tried to run. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. How she thought she could just lie, cheat, and play me for a fool. And the worst part, she had the nerve to call me stupid or crazy when I confronted her. I realized her bitchiness wasn't just a personality trait, it was her armor, her way of gaslighting everyone around her. That night, I sat alone in my empty apartment, staring at the evidence I'd collected. It felt like a nightmare. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I let her get away with this for so long. It's like I was blind, and she was so good at hiding her true self behind that bitchy facade. Deep down, I knew I had to let her go. I couldn't be with someone who lied and cheated, especially during one of the most emotional moments of my life. But even as I made that decision, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I still loved her, but I knew I had to walk away before I lost myself completely. The decision wasn't easy, but deep down, I knew staying with Emily wasn't an option anymore. I couldn't keep pretending she wasn't the person I thought I knew. The betrayal cut too deep. I told her I wanted her out of my life, that I wasn't going to be part of her new mess with Jake and her pregnancy. She threw a fit, acting like I was the one ruining everything, calling me possessive and paranoid. That bitch had the nerve to act like she was the victim after all she'd done. But I didn't back down. I packed her things while she was out, all her clothes, her jewelry, the little stuff she kept around the apartment. I left her a note saying I never wanted to see her again, that I'd reported her to the lawyer and that I was filing for divorce. The moment she found out I had the evidence, her confessions, the texts, the pregnancy confirmation, she lost it. She screamed, called me every name in the book, said I was crazy, insecure, jealous. But I didn't care. I knew what she was, and I wasn't going to let her keep destroying me. The aftermath was a roller coaster. I won't lie, it hurt like hell. Every time I saw her around town, I felt sick. Every memory, every moment we shared, it all turned sour. Still, I felt a strange sense of relief. I finally saw her for what she really was, and I was free from her manipulative, bitchy games. I kept the evidence tucked away, just in case she tried to come back and lie her way out of it. I wanted to make sure I'd be protected, because I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation to her favor. My friends and family were stunned. They couldn't believe Emily could do something so cruel, especially during such a tough time. Some told me I was better off without her, but I still felt a pang of sadness. I loved her once and I had built a future with her. Now that future was gone. I realized I had to accept that she was never the person I thought she was. She was just a manipulative, bitchy liar. The pregnancy, the affair, everything changed my view of her forever. I learned the hard way that sometimes the people you trust the most can turn out to be the biggest enemies. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner. But I also learned that you can't ignore your intuition, no matter how much you want to believe in fairy tales. If anything, this whole mess taught me to be more cautious, more aware of what's real and what's just a manipulation. I'm still healing, still trying to put the pieces back together. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing: I'll never trust blindly again. And that's probably the best lesson I can take from all this. In the end, I realized how much betrayal can change a person, how it can strip away the illusions you cling to and leave you standing in the raw truth of what's real. Emily's actions shattered my trust, and honestly, she shattered a part of me that I don't think I'll ever fully get back. But what's left is a clearer understanding of myself. I learned that loyalty isn't something you can take for granted, and sometimes, the person you love the most can turn into the person you never thought they could be. Living through this has made me more cautious about who I let into my life and how much I trust. I don't regret loving Emily, because I truly did. But I do regret not noticing the signs sooner, ignoring my instincts because I wanted to believe in the best in her. I wish I could go back and tell myself to see what was right in front of me, but you only really learn when it's too late, and that hurts. Still, I've come to accept that some things are better left behind, no matter how much it stings. I've started over, slowly rebuilding my life. It's not easy, and sometimes I still feel the ache of betrayal, but I know I'll be okay. I've learned that revenge isn't worth it. What matters is my own healing, my future, and finding a way to forgive myself for trusting her so deeply. She's gone now, and honestly, the weight of her betrayal is lighter because I refuse to carry it anymore. So if there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Trust your gut, pay attention to the signs, and never let anyone manipulate your kindness or love into their own game. Because once someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Don't stay for the sake of what was, or what you hope it could be. Sometimes, walking away is the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the bravest, and in the end, that's what saves you.